Good morning, grandkids. Well, today we're starting another chapter in a work in progress about the story that I'm writing based on the listener series that I played online. And believe me, this is loosely based on that series because I, in writing a book, have added a lot of stuff to it. So this is going to be episode 17, I think. Back at the guild, it was Gabriella who was waiting for me. She hurriedly told me that there were pressing matters going on. There had been an incident with Cicero. She would let Astrid explain to me. I walked on into the main sanctuary and found Vizara crumpled on the floor with the others standing around him, looking worriedly at him. Babette was by him, telling him that he had been very brave defending Astrid. I wondered what was going on. Looking around at everyone, I asked, is he injured? What happened here? Astrid was the one who answered. It's Cicero. He just went berserk. He tried to kill me. Vizara was trying to protect me and was injured. Then Cicero fled. I knew he couldn't be trusted. Festus backed her up. It's true, he said. He was a little whirlwind, slashing this way and that. These points on his silly hat bobbing all around. He was a sight. It could have been funny if he hadn't been trying to kill everyone. He was doing a good job of it, and if it hadn't been for Vizara, Astrid would probably be dead. Cicero was a trained killer with shadow scales back in the day, you know. Next, Nazir chimed in. He was ranting about the Night Mother being the true leader and that Astrid was a pretender. Nazir was leaning back against the wall with his arms crossed, looking stern but thoughtful. Astrid went on to say, we have got to deal with this now. You have got to deal with this. You must find him and kill him. By now, I was having several private questions of my own. Since there was a room full of assassins here, why hadn't at least one of them killed Cicero? Hadn't any of them helped Vizara? The other thing was, what happened that set Cicero off? And next, why did Astrid think that I specifically had to take care of it? Then Astrid was speaking to me again. I want you to find him and kill him. But first, I want you to find my husband and make sure he is okay. After the attack on me, he flew into a rage and went after Cicero. They both disappeared out into the wilds. Into the wilds, I said in my best complaining voice. That's rather vague. How am I supposed to know in which direction to even start? She looked at me with a little frustration and said, well, start by searching his room. See if you can find any clue as to where he might go. He's always sitting around writing in a journal, giggling and muttering to himself like you do. You might find that and read it. Grandkids, my throat is awfully tight, and the older I get, the tighter it gets when I try to read. I'm sorry I have to interrupt my story. That even hurts. I walked away a little miffed. She made it sound like I, too, giggled and muttered. On the way to Cicero's room, I stopped by the night mother. Cicero always left the door of her coffin open, so she was always on display. Maybe he thought that would make the others feel more like she was still the leader of the Brotherhood. Then again, I thought with a shudder, it was just to keep her aired out. I stood in front of her and assured her that I would not be killing her keeper. I didn't know how Astrid would react to that, but I would not kill Cicero. I also assured her that somehow I would eventually take care of this whole situation with Astrid. I was startled when she spoke. I am pleased with my listener. I went on into Cicero's room and began a methodical search. Sorry, grandkids. In all, I found 5 journals, a pair of stinky boots, and a fresh bottle of mead, which I drank. I decided to take the journals down to the dining hall where I'd have more room to spread out and study them and make some notes. Spreading the books out on the table, I flipped through the first 4 journals, which were older and seemed to cover a lot of time before he arrived in Skyrim. Stuff about wars and why he had to flee to another country to protect the Night Mother. But the 5th journal finally brought things up to the here and now. It started off before he entered Skyrim, where he wrote, "I have written letters to Astrid telling her of my imminent arrival with the Night Mother. It seems her sanctuary still stands, still operates. But how? No listener, no Night Mother. There means no hearing of any black sacraments. No black sacraments means no contracts. Astrid's so-called family has abandoned the old ways, yet they still survive, still assassinate. But then, are they still family? Still the Dark Brotherhood? Or is it something new, different, started by Astrid? Something's wrong. Yes, something's wrong." I could tell by his exclamation marks he was getting worked up about things. I wondered if he would start planning what to do about it. I knew he could be a good ally to have on my side when the time came to take down this empire which Astrid had built for herself and which was failing. From further things he wrote, I found out he had discovered an older Brotherhood sanctuary near Dawnstar. He set himself up there saying he had found a home, but that there was so much silence. Nothing was happening. The Night Mother wasn't speaking. Then he wrote, "We must travel on to Astrid's sanctuary. I am not the listener. The Mother will never speak to me, so we must go on. I must keep looking for the listener. But I must also teach Astrid a lesson, teach her the error of her ways. I will keep the sanctuary at Dawnstar for my own, for my rest, for my play, for I will once more take up my blade." I had the feeling that he may have penned those last few lines here in this room, then rushed out and attacked Astrid. Previously, he had written down the password to get into the Dawnguard sanctuary, which I also wrote down in my notes. I assumed that I assumed that would be where he would go. So, equipped with the password, I decided it was now time to listen to my instincts and travel directly to Dawnstar. I also remembered that Cicero had written down that he had sent at least one letter to Astrid telling her of his arrival, but she had acted all surprised when he showed up. She had evidently not shared his letter with the others. Now, why would that be? Was she scared she was going to lose everything? She had probably been plotting ways of getting rid of him long before he arrived. I gathered the journals together and started to get up from the table when I saw Nazir coming down the stairs. He came over to me. "Well," he said, "I see you made it back to me in one piece." I'm sorry, grandkids. This is not a good morning for me, I'm afraid. You look tired and hungry. How about some food? While you're eating, I'd like to hear about how you handled Fletcher and Gaius. I didn't get a chance to talk with you during all the ruckus over Cicero. He walked over to the kitchen area and asked me what I'd like to have. I opted for milk instead of mead, a baked potato, and whatever meat was available. I set the journals aside as he set food in front of me. "Now, eat and talk to me," he said as he sat down, crossed his arms, and leaned his elbows on the table and gazed at me intently. I told him about how incompetent the Pentius Oculatus' security was at Dragon Bridge, and about the hilarious ways that they actually helped me. I got him laughing at that. I think that was the first time I had heard him laugh since I'd been here. It must not occur too often. It was as wonderful to hear as his speaking voice. Then I told him about the scare I had in the room with Fletcher and Whiterun, the fact of turning around and seeing someone else in the room, which I hadn't been aware of. His smile faded away, and he was now concerned about my lax observation and started to chastise me. The first thing you always do when you enter a room is stop, look around, and listen. I admitted that I had been too confident and was careless. I promised him I'd be more careful. I gave him a smile, but it didn't change his stern, concerned look. I started to get on my way, but then I settled back down. I asked Nazir what he truly thought about what all was going on here. He seemed quite forthright and honest when he replied, "I have served Astrid ever since I've been here, without question, but I know that things have been going downhill for a while now. The money's not coming in because the contracts are few and far between. I'm beginning to think that there's a lot to be said for the old way." I asked him, "Do you think that Astrid might, at times, give us contracts to get rid of someone she doesn't care for, or someone she feels may get in her way?" Well, I hadn't thought about how the contracts came to be, but now that the Night Mother is here and has named a listener, you, my dear, and has actually given a contract, which is to assassinate the Emperor, things might start to turn around. I must say, the first black sacrament she heard and gave to you is certainly high profile. If we pull this off, people will start noticing our abilities, and it might put us back in the game. I asked him how Astrid had managed to take over the guild here, and he said he honestly didn't know that she was in charge when he arrived. By now the time was passing, and I should have already been on my way. I told him I had to get going. I picked up Cicero's journals and got up and started to walk away, but turned and asked Nazir if he would keep an open mind about what was going on around here. I then decided to take him into my confidence and told him that I had no intentions of killing Cicero when I found him. He took hold of my hand and placed some coins in it, payment for the Fletcher, then told me that, yes, he would keep an open mind and that he would also keep a watchful eye on things. I thanked him, and as I turned to leave, he said with a concerned frown, "Remember to be more careful." I saw Astrid and told her that I knew where Cicero was headed. "Well, every minute counts," she said. "Take my horse, Shadow Mare. He's, well, one of us." What did that mean, I wondered? One of us. Was he a trained killer? She told me I would find him out by the pool, if not in it. "Just find my husband," she went on to say. "Then send that jester's twisted little soul to the void in as many pieces as possible." I asked her if she knew what set him off like that. "Well, to be honest," she admitted, "I haven't been exactly discreet expressing my frustration with all of this. Obeying the Night Mother, you being the listener, is ridiculous. He may have overheard me. I wasn't very respectful of the Night Mother, and you know how protective he is of her. After all, he is her keeper. But to attempt to murder the leader here, me, that he must pay for with his life, well, he doesn't think of you as the listener. As the leader, I was thinking to myself, of course he'd want to get rid of you, and I might help him someday, when the time was right." Next, Gabriella stopped me. She said she felt only pity for Cicero. Can anyone truly blame him for his actions? We mock him, disrespect the old ways. Our actions have been shameful. Surely, if the Night Mother must how the Night Mother must weep this day. She then told me that she and Astrid were pleased with how I had handled the job with Gaius, and handed me the promised token to take to Olava the Seer. I thanked her, wondering when I'd ever find time to use it. I decided to make one more stop. I sat down at a table in Astrid's bedroom by the entrance and took out my own journal and began to write down all that had transpired. I was really surprised by what Gabriella had said. When everything comes down to a final confrontation, she might be someone I can count on. And of course there's Nazir. I knew I could count on him, and I trusted him. I had never trusted anyone in my life. It was an odd but good feeling. I must hurry on now. And that's the end of my chapters for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are enjoying me reading this book as I have been writing it. It's been a lot of fun for me. I've tried this before, but never could hang in there and keep going and get it ended. But doing it online with all of you listening to me read it is what is keeping me going, and so I'm very grateful for that. So thank all of you very much for being here. I appreciate it, and I hope you're enjoying this. Goodbye, grandkids.